Yeah? Okay, I'm going to disconnect this. Good morning. I am Simran Chopra, and if you don't follow me on Instagram and if this channel is new to you, I'm a nutritionist, a deep health coach, and every Saturday usually we run a live taking you through multiple different kinds of experiences, from expert talks to live recipe demos and to workouts. But today we're doing something completely different. If you're a beginner with workouts, this is for you. We are going to be covering 5 of the main exercises that people usually get wrong as a beginner. I'm going to take you through the main steps of them. We are going to start off with what is called bracing your core. Now, before we start, I'm purposely in something tight so that you can see my movements, and I am barefoot only because I want you to see how my feet are placed. This does not mean that you need to work out barefoot for any of these till you build strength. All right, we will be starting with 1, which is how to brace your core. You will see it in all the programs that we run, in all the workouts that we have. It will always say brace your core. Now, it is usually thought of that when you're working your abs and your core, it is only when you're doing crunches, but it is not. It is in every single exercise, and these muscles sort of stabilize your body through every movement. Before we get into anything else, this is the main one. Now, bracing your core is not as simple as just pulling your stomach in. It's not the same. It is more, you have to think about the muscles inside and sort of pull it in as if you really want to pee. Think that you really need to go to the loo. So you pull that in, you're pulling those muscles towards your spine. Okay, so your stomach becomes really hard. Try it. If you are doing this, it's not a workout, get up and just try. Standing straight, okay, pulling. And especially if you have sort of this rounding, you're supposed to tuck this in, correct? Now, instead of just sucking your stomach in, think of the muscles inside. You really want to pee, hold it in, pull it to your spine. Your stomach should become really hard. This is now bracing or holding the rest of your body. We need to be doing this in nearly every single exercise that you perform. Every single exercise, all right? So that is the basics of bracing your core. Now, we will go to the first one, which most people get wrong, which is the squat. Now, before we start, I want to just say that there isn't, when you look at squats online, there isn't a perfect sort of squat, because I'm going to put a picture on the screen and it will show you that your lumbars, how big your torso is and how big your femur bone is, will sort of define how you squat. Someone with maybe a longer torso, shorter legs will squat with the one on the left that you can see, and someone with smaller torso, longer legs will squat differently. So a squat, I'm going to tell you the basics and then you have to adapt it to your body type. Don't be too worried about what you keep seeing online. Now, the basics are, we will start with the first one. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see me better, but now I'm starting off with shoulder width, feet, toes pointed out, not straight. In the beginning, you're pointing your toes out. All right. When you do this, if you can see my feet, I want you to, through your shoes or whatever, sort of grip the ground. All right. You're sort of trying to grip the ground really hard. This is also when you start lifting heavy. And when you do that, remember, core is braced, right? Not like that. Brace your core, hold it. Now, you're trying to push your hips back to sit on an invisible chair. Now, there is a fallacy that your knees cannot cross, but they can. Don't worry about that yet. You are trying to go push your hips back as if you're sitting down onto a chair. You go only as low as where you don't feel any strain on your back. All right, you go down. If you can see, some people will be more upright, some will be leaning forward more. In the beginning, most of these are okay. The things that you need to look out for when you squat, your knees must not go in. You're pushing them out actively pushing your knees out, right? Don't let them fall in or cave in. 1. The second one I want you to look for is, at no point are you going to be like this or leaning forward where your heels leave the ground. Heels must not leave the ground. In fact, you're going to push up through your heels. Okay, you're going to push up through your heels. Now, a few things that I don't want you to do. The idea in nearly every exercise is to keep your spine as straight as possible. So when you go down, I don't want you looking here. Most common mistake is people doing this. Don't want you lifting your neck either. Look diagonally straight so that ideally your spine is in a straight line. Okay, you come back up. Go only as low as possible. If you cannot even do this, you can hold on to a chair in front of you and then go down as much as you can using support. All right, idea, push hips back, brace core, go down, come back up while your feet drive into the floor. This is the basics of a squat. Now, if you really want to increase the depth of your squat, you're going to have to warm up with like what we call the Hindu squat. You'll see it in all our programs. It's in nearly every day where we try to warm up and give you more flexibility. It's as simple as going as low as possible, pushing out, standing back up, pushing out, standing back up. You can even hold that pose for longer. You can even do it as a stretch to sort of open up your body, right? And it will eventually give you a greater depth. But in the beginning, you go only as low as you can, where it does not hurt. All right, so that is one of the basics for a squat. Quickly, we are going over it, right? Brace your core, feet holding the ground. When you lower yourself, push your hips back, lower yourself as if into a chair, push back up through your heels. Make it a little bit more advanced. When you go down, pause, push back up, push your hips forward and squeeze your lower body. That's part 2. Come to that later. So that's what one for a squat. Spine always straight, but spine is going to be straight for everything. Moving on. Next we will try the lunge. Now most people are going to be like, lunge is also only for your legs, but if you're doing it for the first time, you will realize that you need your core because you need stability and you will have to need balance, which is why first thing we are going to do is brace our core, right? In a lunge, it's the same thing. You can actually stand slightly closer together. If you have a mat which has a line through it, stand with slightly on either side. Your feet are going to try and come back to the same point. Brace your core, okay? Hold it in. Now, ideally, if you have balance issues, pick a point in front of you and keep staring at that point. It's called spotting. When you do this, feet again in the floor, we are going to try a step back lunge first. Okay, you step back as much as you can, lower yourself as much as you can, push back up through the heel in the front foot. I don't want you leaning forward, don't want you leaning too back, right? You're down, push back up, down, push back up. Now, that's technically a stationary run. When you are in a moving lunge, like a step back, push up, step back, push up. You're pushing from the heel in the front foot, always, right? Brace your core, don't let it sag, down, up. You're going only as low as possible, spine straight as well. Now, in a front lunge, step forward lunge. Same thing, step forward, down, up. Okay, now we'll do it in one motion. I am still pushing off the foot in front, okay? Push up to the heel in front. Go only as low as possible, keep your core braced. Now, in this, if again you need balance, start off by holding a chair on your side in one hand and doing it. You can start off with just simple stationary lunges. Now, what to look out for? Heel is where you push off from, core is braced, spine is straight, but again, when you do this, your knee should not cave in, right? You are actively gripping the floor, okay? Try to put the weight on the outside portion of your foot. This way, this should not cave in when you go down. Focus on it not caving in. Okay, we don't want knee issues. That's the basics of a lunge. Quickly going over it, grip the floor, always push from the heel in front, core braced, spine up, always go only till what you can manage. Hold a chair if you need to, don't let your knees cave in. Simple. Next, moving on to the plank. Now, this is the goods and the bads, what is okay, what is not. As a beginner, we're looking at this as a beginner. You have comments, you have questions, put it quickly in the comments. Okay, ask me as much as you can. We will pick it up right after I finish these. Now, for the plank, you're ideally looking at putting your hands or elbows below your shoulders. Okay, now the most common mistake we see here is people putting the hips up. If you're a beginner, this could be fine, right? Because, and as you get stronger, I want you to lower yourself to parallel. In a plank, if you have your elbows ahead of you, this makes it exponentially harder. This is a hard version. So elbows are below your shoulders. Ideally, if you can't do it or you don't know, take a picture of yourself, take a video of yourself. If you're on our programs, you can send it to us as well. Otherwise, take a video and see what it looks like. Okay, going for this again. Right now, if your hips are up, lower them slowly over time as you can. However, when you are in all places, I want you to be bracing your core, but in this case, we are also bracing or tightening the glutes, the hamstring, the whole body. Okay, so you are tightening everything and holding right there. Again, don't look up, don't look down, look dangling front so your spine is straight. Now, what I don't want you to do, so while it's okay if your hip is slightly up in the beginning, that's fine. What I don't want you to do is sag, which is this. This is very bad for your lower back. It can cause exponential lower back issues, pain, especially if you're slightly on the higher side. Hips up, tight. Everything has to be braced. Don't let it sag. This also applies to when you're trying to do a push-up or any movements in that position, be it shoulder taps, those plank ups or commandos, any form of plank. Don't let your hips sag, right? That is what is going to make it much worse for you. Now that's the basics of the plank, which will apply to most other things. As you can see, the core being pulled in and spine sort of straight stays through most of it. Now, 1, 2, 3, we've done 3. The fourth one we are doing today is, yes, the one that people get wrong a lot is your stiff leg deadlift. Now, why are we doing this? Because in the stiff leg deadlift, I'll show you sort of the issues most people have, which is, since most of you or most people who join our programs are on the home program, especially the reboot, which is our main, which has the highest sort of results because you can do a crazy amount of stuff with just a set of dumbbells at home. Now, I mean, water bottles work as well. In the stiff leg deadlift, you're working the hamstring. So this movement will depend on each person's flexibility of or mobility of that hamstring. So you're only trying to go as low as possible. The things you're not going to do is round your back. Now, an ideal stiff leg deadlift means the legs are stiff. Okay, and you go down as much as possible, even if it's still here, even if it's still here, even if it's whatever it is, we want you to only go as much as your hamstrings allow you to go. All right, and over time you will find that you will be able to go lower. Now, in this, you have to push your hips back while going down, right, as much as possible. Keep the dumbbells close to you and stand up. Core braced, down, stand up. When you stand up, you need to clench your glutes and your thighs or your lower body. Down, up. Do not round your back. Don't do this. Okay, you don't have to bend your legs too much. Only go as much as is possible to you. All right, which is why it's so important to watch an exercise carefully. That is why I've sort of built the app the way it's built, because the idea is for you to watch the demonstration carefully before you start. Then you hit a start workout. Everybody moves at their own pace and everybody has their own sort of mobility, right? So as you progress, it will change. Everybody's body is slightly different. How your proportions are will affect the way an exercise looks on you, which is fine, right? In this case, again, you're gripping the floor always and pushing up, right? Now, the fifth one that comes to me a lot, especially for people who are just starting out, is how to jump lightly. We see that most people have been saying things like, you know, when you're doing a jumping jack, it hurts when you land like that. And I will tell you why. If you are landing in any jump with your full foot, apart from looking a little bit silly, and I'm over dramatizing this, but it causes too much load on your knees. Now, if you see in the workouts, if you are on our programs, you'll see air skipping a lot because we want you to sort of build this. So you start off with first practicing on the heels, sorry, on your toes and the balls of your foot. You can even start with just tiny skips. The idea is to keep your knees loose so it's not stiff. Okay, slightly raised, core braced. Okay, you do tiny skips to land softly. Your objective is to land as softly and lightly as possible. You're not landing, if you are doing the skips like too much pressure, not your full foot. In this case, it's the front of your foot. All right. So for any other exercise, we're going to try it with, for example, a jumping squat. Before you go into the full squat, you try it with a mini squat, right? The lower you go, the higher you'll be able to jump. But just remember, when you are landing, your hips, all this area takes the weight, not just your knees. So don't land, try to land as lightly as possible. Think of landing like a cat. You don't have to jump high in the beginning. The skipping one really helps. So does a jumping jack, which you can do very lightly when you're on the toes of your feet. Always core braced, toes of your feet. Coming back in a jumping squat. When you lower yourself, even if you land, I want you to land very lightly. Okay, you're not landing, not on your full foot, right? Think of it like shock absorbers. You're going to jump, start in the beginning with a mini squat, jump, jump, jump. So basically, when you bend your knees, you're propelling yourself very slowly. Okay, mini jumps. Try and focus on just learning how to land on till your balls of your feet. Okay, the best one is the air skipping to help you learn this. Just focus on keeping your core braced, keeping your knees soft, not stiff. They need to be mobile, and the balls of your feet light. Think of it like maybe if you were dancing, you know. So those are the basics of the 5 most common ones that we see. So now we'll open it up for questions if there's something else that you want to see as well. I'm going to quickly check the comment section, which I still need to figure out. How do I check it? Ooh, comment section. Okay, I don't seem to have figured out. Just put your comments in there. Now I'm talking to myself. Okay, I'm gonna check. Weirdly, I don't see comments on that one. Anyway, I'm checking on my phone as well. Give me a second. If you are wondering what happened to my hand, most of you who follow me will know that I kind of burnt it yesterday. Okay, serrator walk. All right, that one is sort of similar to the plank. Akanksha, the rules are similar to that of a plank because you're sort of in the same position. So what you're going to do in a serratus walk, you start off in plank position, right? In this one, to make it slightly easier, your legs can be slightly, look at them at shoulder width. In a plank position, put one hand below your shoulder, push up and down. This really works your core because in this move, your main objective is to try and keep your lower body as still as possible. So like, this is not really helpful. Your focus will be on how to keep your lower body as still as possible. Not too much of movement. For this, you are going to have to really push your feet into the ground and focus on keeping stable. Again, in this movement, if you are slightly higher, it's okay. Sagging your hips is a problem which will cause lower back pain. All right? Serratus walk, the shoulders of one arm can't get up. So you can try the serratus walk in its modified version then, which would basically be this version, making it much easier for you to learn, right? Try it in that till you build strength. The serratus walk, it's like plank, so everything, your whole body, your core is working, you're working major inner muscles for the stability, your hips are working to keep stable, your shoulders, your chest, everything is working. It's a fantastic exercise, can be hard in the beginning. Just try it in the modified version if you can't do it first in the main version. Okay? Awesome, Akanksha. Anybody else? Most welcome, Naz. Anybody else has any other questions? Let us know. Otherwise, it'll be time to wrap up. We're right on time. Those are the 5 that we did. We leave this workout, we leave this on so that you can watch it later as well. The main one that I want you to really focus on is learning to brace your core. You need it for every single exercise. And then what it does is, you should actually probably be also focusing on that in your daily life, right? Bracing your core as much as possible. It will work your abs like crazy, fun. It also makes sure that every exercise is more stable. It also helps you work your core in every single exercise, gives you better form. Just, it's what you need to do. Okay, last question. If knees are hurting during exercise, is it a red signal? It really depends. So a lot of people mistake different kinds of pain. We would need to know what kind it was. But if it is extreme, you should probably stop. There are enough exercises out there where you can avoid one and do another one, which is, for example, why we introduced the low impact program for people with knee issues, so you don't have to jump. Now, a squat is actually very useful for knee injuries, but it is better if you have knee issues to see a trained rehab physiotherapist first, not the ones that just do the ultrasound, not that one. The ones that actually assess you, understand where the issue is coming from, because a lot of time the knee issue might not be from just the knee. It might, because the knee would be probably the weakest link in the chain. It's taking the pressure. It could be from issues with your inner thigh, your quads, your hamstring, your glutes, your hips, lower back. It could be from anywhere. All right, you're seeing it in the knee because and anyone with additional weight has more pressure on the knees, which makes it much harder. But it is not a complete red flag. There are multiple ways to go about it, right? You can send us a message. I have a major right knee issue. Hurts sometimes. It is what it is. But I have worked on it. You can work on it. Is that all our questions today? All right then. Do let us know in the comments, even if you're watching this later, if you prefer the Saturday evening or the Sunday. It looks like you'll prefer Saturday. But anyway. With that, we can sort of close up. Thank you so much for being here. If you're watching this later, I hope this video helps you in some way. You can find me also on Instagram at simran.chopra, spelled with a U everywhere. I'm the only one. Or you can also find us on nourishwithsim.com. For any issues that you have, you can send. We have a WhatsApp chat on there. We have no bots. We have only real people, which means it takes us a little bit of time to reply to you because we are human. But you can get a reply that comes from a real human who can actually help you. So if you want, go to nourishwithsim.com. There's a WhatsApp chat. Send us a message for any of the questions that you have, which I might not be able to answer here if you're watching this later. All right. It was great having all of you here. We're always here to support you. We would love comments on what you would like to see next in all our other lives so that we can make it of real value to you. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great Sunday or whatever day you're watching this. Thank you. Bye-bye.